Well, hey there, everybody. Kyle Draper, we are live, sir. Welcome to Strengths Activation. I am Rhonda Boyle, one of your co-hosts, and this is the show where we explore the number one personal and professional development tool on the market today, the Clifton Strengths Assessment created by Gallup Corporation. And so for the next 45 minutes or so, we are going to be exploring how professionals and coaches from around the world are using this tool to make a difference in their lives and in the lives of other people around them. And welcome, Kyle Draper, my special guest host today. How are you, sir?
Rhonda, I am great. It is always a privilege to get that last second call to get to boot Jason out of the way and be your co-host. So I'm excited.
Yes. Well, Jason was, for those of you who have been with us before, Jason was unavoidably detained today. And Kyle, I'm so glad, Coach Kyle. And let me tell you just a little bit about him. He is from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. However, he works all over the world because he is a social media marketing king. In fact, Coach Kyle is how you are known, and he is with KyleDraper.com.
That's right.
How about that?
It is, it's fun. I like it.
Oh, it is fun. So let's check in with our people. We're so glad that you're here today. And we have Wynn Jacobson in the house. She is from Washington State. We love having you in. Thanks for joining us. And hey, Annette, I went to high school with Annette, girl. It's been years and years. And then we have Melanie Schneider in from Madison, Wisconsin. And Diana Drummond is from Ada, Oklahoma. I'm so glad you're here today. And thank you for joining us. So Kyle, I was thinking.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking about how many Clifton Strengths codes now have been sold. Like over 18.5 million people now have taken this assessment.
Oh my gosh.
I know, but you know what is sad is the overwhelming majority of them have only opened up their top 5.
Yeah.
And I know you are officially a strengths nerd because you've opened all of yours.
Yeah.
Tell us about that for you.
So sadly, and this is, I'm embarrassed on this show to have to admit this, but I think for probably 8 years, I only knew my top 5. And so I was a late bloomer, to be the full nerd and go all in. But here, what was really cool is, Rhonda, when I unlocked the 34, the first cool thing that happened was when I identified my bottom 5, it gave me permission to be okay with sucking at those things.
Right.
Which was huge for me because I want to be awesome at everything. And so as I've grown my business, it allows me to go, okay, I know I'm not going to be great at this. Who do I need to bring alongside me that is great at that? That can cover me in that area. And so that's been incredibly freeing.
Well, and sure. A little birdie told me that you keep your top 10 and your bottom 5 pasted on, or your top 5 something. Tell us about that, because that's a great strategy.
Yeah. So in my office, I have my top 5 and my bottom 5 on a piece of paper pinned to my wall, so that as I'm going about my day, when I encounter something that is in that bottom 5, I can quickly go, okay, like I've given myself permission to not get ticked off, to not get upset, right? To be okay with letting someone come in and help me with that.
Isn't
because
that amazing?
I'm never going to pull that up to the top. It's just not going to happen. So that's been huge for me. But where I was unaware of it also being huge was I've made my wife take it. Right. Everyone that's close to me, like, you don't get to come in close to Kyle Draper without taking the Strength Finder assessment. and so she, when she took this test a couple years ago, she is number 1 harmony.
Oh my.
And it was interesting because I unlocked my 34 and my 33 is harmony.
So you don't get her at all.
And well, I do now, right? Like, so Strength Finders has allowed me to really understand my wife and appreciate, not just understand her, but appreciate her to a greater capacity. Because I used to always go like, golly, honey, like, why are you always trying to like just make it okay and play the middle and you know, like she's just always the peacekeeper.
Yep.
And then I'm the guy that like, I'm a very nice person, but if I think you're out of line, I'm going to just tell you, like, Rhonda, get your stuff together. Like, you're out of line. And she's always wondered why I'm so abrupt and to the point. And we spent the first 6 to 7 years of our marriage with her trying to get me to be like her and me trying to get her to be like me, and then that turning into fights. And then we always know that she wins because I want to stay married. And so ultimately I let her win. But
see,
it's been amazing.
Hey, listen, Wynn Jacobson is saying her harmony's number 2. So Wynn, that should give you hope that you can win every argument. You hear, Kyle?
That's right. So it's been really powerful. Like, I would, if you guys are watching right now, like, have your spouse take this assessment if you haven't done it.
Well, and I would also like to say to make sure you get your 34 done.
Yeah.
Too. Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely.
Here's what Wynn says right here. She was nerding herself out on her full 34. This girl is a full-time strengths nerd.
I love it.
I do too. I love it. So, and she says she doesn't want to argue at all, and she's not sure she wants to win every argument.
That's probably good. That's probably safe to be there.
Yeah, I think she wants everybody to win. That's what really.
Yeah, that's what harmony is, right? Yeah.
Yeah. They want everybody to win. Everybody. Well, listen, I think we better get a move on because we have got a packed show today. And in fact, let's see. We have Emily Brashier and Paul Allen coming up. And I should have announced that earlier. I know. But let's get Emily on because I want to hear from her. I can't wait for you to know her. I've been working with Emily for, 2 or 3 years at least. And she is a print and digital content and photo specialist. I can't say that very fast, but she works for the Guthrie News Leader, which is a newspaper in Guthrie, Oklahoma. And she's going to share with us how her talents help her juggle life as a busy single mama of 4 kids. Emily, where are you, girl? Come on up. There she is.
Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
Oh, we are thrilled to have you. Now, we always open up. Tell us what your top 5 are.
Well, my top 5 are number 1, connectedness, number 2, strategic, number 3, ideation, 4, learner, and number 5, responsibility.
Wow, look at that. Hashtag, if you've got any of Emily's talents, here they go again. Connectedness, strategic, ideation. That's my number 1. Learner and responsibility. Look at you. Now, we're not supposed to have favorites, because we're supposed to be neutral, but we all know we have them. So tell us what your favorite is and why.
Well, my favorite of my strengths is definitely ideation, and mostly because I get so much energy from using it. So it's fun.
I know. We have popcorn brain, don't we?
Absolutely.
Just bouncing all the time. So do you have trouble sleeping too? Just checking.
Sometimes, but I also use it so much during the day that it kind of keeps it in bay at night. So Rhonda, maybe you should let it out more during the day.
There you go.
So you can sleep at night.
Look at her coaching the coach. If anybody needs to know, coaches need coaches too. So I know. Well, tell us how you engage with your ideation with the people that you work with. Well, I want to hear more about that.
It comes out in a lot of ways at work and at home. It's all over the place all the time. I just let it out. Once I learned that was actually a strength, it's been great to let it go and embrace that. So, at work, a lot of times we're brainstorming on projects. So that's fabulous. I get to, when we're putting together a special section or something like that, it's really fun to get to put out all my ideas and understanding that they're not all great ideas. But just the freedom to put it out there and recognize that that's my strength that I'm bringing to my team table. has been, to me, empowering, and recognizing not everybody has that strength, so that I need to bring that to the table for the rest of the team to be able to use. And then it comes out in other ways. It's really interesting when I'm doing interviews, because I'm a reporter as well. I'm interviewing people and getting to hear their stories and their businesses and all that. I kind of have discovered the ideation, just like you said, just starts popping off. And I have to share. It's like I just need to get it out. So I start with a disclaimer that, I've got some unsolicited ideas and advice if they'd like to hear them, and then I go into this power brainstorming session when I'm mid-interview quite regularly. So it's pretty funny.
How funny. Kyle?
Yeah, so Emily, I always love to know, like, what of your strengths do you really wrestle with that kind of fights you?
I think the one I don't know what I'd say. It fights me, but I fight it, is the responsibility. Because responsibility is always right there. And I take on way more responsibility than I really should, in projects and in life in general. And so I fight with that. And I have to remind myself that just because I feel responsible for everyone else and everything that's happening doesn't mean that I actually have to take that ownership of things that I just can't handle it all, But that one's the one I probably wrestle with the most.
That's huge. Go ahead, Kyle. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, do you kind of feel like it took an evolution of that to realize, like, it's okay for you to not always take responsibility?
Absolutely. And it's still evolving. I'm not like I've arrived yet, as we all understand. I'm learning more about our strengths, and instead of hating that about myself, now I can embrace it and say, okay, this is why I take responsibility and why not everybody else around me does. It's just how I'm wired. And when I realize that's a strength, but also that strength needs to, as Rhonda would say, not go to the outhouse. I don't need to be getting mad at other people for them not doing their part or of owning responsibility, but recognizing what that is and how to keep it in a good balance so that I can use it for good and feeling good about it. Now, I don't want to feel yucky about my responsibilities. I want to feel good about them.
Absolutely.
Well, and when you do not feel good about them is when you have volunteered and taken on, as you mentioned, too much responsibility. Exactly. And that's when you start to feel the pressure. And then somebody tries to put one more thing on you and you're like, and now you're overwhelmed and you're underwater trying to figure out how to get out of some of the stuff that you're involved in.
Yeah. Using that ideation.
Yeah, exactly. And you're strategic, dear. How can I quickly get out of this? So
let's make a plan.
Yeah. And one of the good things that you said that I really loved is that you now know that not everybody has responsibility. Hello, it's my number 28.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean I'm irresponsible, although my husband might say something otherwise. But, it's that I don't take psychological ownership for things. And if you want it, I'm happy to pass it off.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Rhonda, I think Kyle touched on, changing others. You started out in your marriage, like trying to make your spouse more like you. Mm-hmm. And I think we do that. It's most obvious in our really intimate, close relationships, but we do it with everyone around us if we're not aware of it and kind of managing that. And so that's something the Strengths has really helped me to understand, is that every person has something really great about them and their unique skill sets and talents, and they're most likely very different from mine. And for me to try to make them just like me is horrible. Like, it's horrible for them. It's horrible for me. But when I can look at that and say, okay, this is who I am. This is my strength. I'm going to bring that to the table. And let's find out what you are and what your strengths are. And let's embrace those instead of me trying to change you to be just like me, because God knows we don't need a whole team of people just like me in the world.
Can you imagine another one of me in the world? Oh my goodness.
Whoa.
Hey, Kyle. Hey, hang on a minute. I might take that personally. Oh, gosh. Emily, you just bring up, one of the things we like to talk about is how have you developed your talents? Well, it's so obvious that you have done so much work to where you're in a place now where you understand yourself and you understand that you're still learning about you too.
Number 4.
Learner.
That's number 4. So, if I can't figure out myself and at least somewhat try to be as much of an expert about myself and others as I can, then what can I do?
Sure. Well, let me just ask you this, because I think we're going to just move on quickly. But what would you recommend to someone who has just taken the assessment? Maybe they just heard about it. Maybe they were at work and they took it and they have never done anything else with it. What would you say would be some advice that you would give them?
Well, the learner in me would definitely take over there. There's 2 things I'd recommend. And the first one would be to get the book and read it, the Clifton StrengthsFinder book, which really explains the talents, not only your own, but then you can read up on the others and understand other people better through that. And the second thing was, and Rhonda, I don't even know if you're still doing workshops, but for me personally, these are the 2 things I did. So I read up on them, and then I attended a workshop that you did, like a intensive, weekend one. And that for me was life-changing. One of the main things I took away from that was an exercise you did called "What Do You Want?" And it was so uncomfortable and fabulous.
Don't tell my secrets now.
Yeah. I share that with a lot of my close friends, have now been put under the "What do you want?" heat. And I use it myself. It's huge for me I guess unveiling is probably the right word. Because I think so many things in our everyday lives, we just sort of are following this like status quo kind of flow. And we don't question what it is that we really want. And so that for me, those are the 2 things I would really encourage anyone just jumping in to really dig in and examine for themselves.
Sure. Thank you. I want to remind everybody that the StrengthsFinder 2.0 book that you mentioned, it's by Tom Rath. And if you have taken the Clifton Strengths Assessment, guess what? You have a copy of the book inside your dashboard. So be sure and go and grab that, because it is something that will be very helpful to hang around, carry around, and so forth. So
definitely.
Yeah. Emily, I'm so glad you came out to visit with us.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Sure. How should we tell people to reach you if they want to grab you, maybe send them to the Guthrie News Leader or anywhere else?
Absolutely. Come see me at the Guthrie News Leader, or you can find me on Facebook. So
there you go. Emily Brashier, we are so grateful that you came out to see us today.
Thanks, Emily.
Thanks. We'll see you soon. All right. Bye-bye. Wasn't she fun?
I loved her. Not only did she have like fun lipstick on, but she had like crazy substance to talk about within her strengths. And so I love the candidness and giving us that insight. It was awesome.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm experiencing a #proud mama moment, because I haven't worked with Emily in probably 2.5 years. And she still continued her development. She is doing exactly what I recommended, and that is roll everybody and anybody she knows into the strengths movement. And, at the end of the day, you have to create your own community, because it's language based. Right. And so it gives you somebody to talk to and so forth. Donald Clifton, who actually created and developed the assessment, he once said that, and this may not be the exact quote, but he said that in order to grow and develop your talents, it needs to be done in the context of other people. And so that means relationships and the people that annoy you. Guess what? They teach you something about you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so what is that about you? Because it's not really about them, and we like to make it about them, don't we? Yeah.
Hey, Rhonda, you'll be proud of me. I have a new coaching client who is a loan officer, and he has a team of 37 people. And he's having all of them take the StrengthsFinder assessment.
That's amazing. Just amazing. Look at the impact you are making, Coach Kyle.
Pretty cool.
I know. I'm so excited about that. And I can't wait to introduce you to our next guest. Oh my gosh. We probably need a drum roll or something. I need to get one of those sound effect machines.
Can you hear that? Can you hear that?
All right. So let me tell you about Paul Allen. I am so delighted that he is with us. He is the founder and CEO of Strengths Inc., which is a human development platform that aims to help a billion, did you hear that? With a B, a billion people reach their full potential. He is a serial entrepreneur, having founded 8 companies, including Ancestry.com. He is married to Christy. They have 8 children, and he is a grandpa of 2, maybe more. I don't know. We'll have to see. And he is from Provo, Utah. Where are you, Paul Allen? Come on up and see us, sir.
Hello.
There you are.
Hey, Rhonda. Hey, Coach Kyle. It's great.
Hey, Paul.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely.
We are delighted to have you here. Now tell us your top 5, because we like to know what those are.
So I'm actually at a company retreat with 15 people, and we all have our name badges. So my top 5 are learner, input, ideation, intellection, and strategic.
Look at that. All 5 in the thinking quadrant. You little thinker, you.
I think 4 of those are in my bottom 5. So
we would make good partners, Coach Kyle.
Yeah.
No, I definitely know I need people that are so much not like me. Yeah, this guest said about that. The world doesn't need, lots of us being the same. We just need everybody's unique, different talents and traits.
It's true. The whole world would keel over if we all leaned the same way.
I don't know, though, Rhonda. If there were more of you, we would all smile 10 times more than we do. So thank you for being you.
Oh, thank you. I love it. I feel like my woo was released when I finally took that assessment for the first time in my whole life. I felt like somebody had figured out who I was. So anyway, listen, here's how we want to start here is I want you to tell us how your talents have led you through your career as a serial entrepreneur.
So thank you for the question. I took the assessment in 2012. I had already started 7 companies and had some highs and lows, ups and downs, some real frustrations with the people side of the businesses. Obviously, as a thinker, I wanted to think, and then I've got competition activator achiever as my 7, 8, and 9. So, but I didn't know these things. I didn't know the language. I didn't know my strengths, and I was very oblivious to most of the talents of most of the people that I worked with. I had a very narrow lens for talent. I wanted engineers and I wanted internet marketers to help me build my businesses, but so many relationship talents that I was unaware of. And so when I took the assessment like you, Rhonda, I was like shocked and floored that this assessment understood me better than my mom, than my wife, than my friend. I was like, how in the world did they know this? Now, later I talked to one of the engineers from Eastern Europe. He said, Paul, you just told us 177 things about you, and we just reflected it back to you in our own language. I'm like, so he made it sound like it wasn't a mysterious black box. It was like our answers to those 177 questions allow them to tell us who we are. And it was incredibly accurate. So as I look back on my career as an entrepreneur, I actually think my top 6 strengths are sequential in how I start companies. When I started Ancestry.com, I knew nothing about genealogy. My learner kicked in. My input kicked in. I went to conferences. I went to libraries. I read dozens of books. I talked to lots of experts. Then my ideation kicks in. I start to see things that haven't been built yet, that the learner and input has told me, okay, here's what exists. Here's what's out there. Ideation kicks in and says, oh, no, there's more. And here's all the things we need to do. Then my intellection will kick in on a long plane trip or a car ride where I think deeply for several hours in a row about all those ideas, all that popcorn, which one should we work on now? So the intellection is kind of the depth of like what really matters. Then strategic is how do I get there? Who and how do we kind of all the different possible paths forward? And then once we start doing things, my analytical starts to measure and figure out what works. And so I actually think, how could anyone start a company without those 6 in order? Like, it's just like those were just my recipe. Now, obviously, I know lots of people start companies with totally different sets of strengths and then different complementary partners to help them out. I certainly have relied upon execution partners for my whole career. None of the things I ever accomplished were on my own. Couldn't have done it without phenomenal partners who are really good at getting things done.
And you were doing that intuitively, and yet now that you have the results of your assessment, you do it intentionally and deliberately.
That is true. It's much more intentional, much more deliberate. Sometimes I can dial up my number 14 focus when I need to. You know, I've got belief, maximizer, significance, 11, 12, 13. Like, I'm intentional with my tool set. I can say, when do I use this? When do I not? The more important thing for me, though, is understanding how other people perceive me, particularly my favorite strength, ideation. When I was at Ancestry, obviously I was credited for founding the company, having the vision for it, but a lot of my employees, unbeknownst to me, and later I heard about it, would roll their eyes every time Paul would come up with his idea of the day. It was a disruptive, unfortunately, I didn't realize that everybody doesn't love ideation. They don't love that changed, better idea today than I had yesterday. And so I actually had a lot of resistance in the company. And there were pockets of resistance that were extremely painful for me and costly for the company's future, because I was kind of unbridled ideation all the time. And so now that I can look at other people's strengths, obviously I have partners today who have ideation. And we can just go at it. And we have input and ideation. We just go at it, and there's kind of unrestrained, and it's super fun for us. But when we start working with folks with execution strengths or relationship themes, we're much more careful and deliberate about how we use our strengths in their presence, because we want to help them be their best, and we don't want to jar or disrupt their strengths and how they get things done. So it's just incredible. I just want everyone in the world to have strengths.
I do too. And you bring to mind something about how you have the opportunity to dial up or down these talents. You can, I say often that my pastor's happy I don't use my communication in the middle of church, but with you're also paying attention to the people that you're ideating with. For example, my husband has ideation number 34, and he's an executor. So as soon as I start ideating, one time we were in the car, I saw him tense up around the steering wheel. And I was like, hey, this is just my ideation and my futuristic popping ideas out and seeing into the future. We don't have to act now, okay? and then the relaxing. But his immediate tension is like, okay, I got to start doing something here with this. And that's not
Oh my
true
gosh,
for us.
Rhonda, that is so identical. My wife has ideation 34. She's a Gallup certified strengths coach. And so in the past, we've been married 30 years now. And only in the last 2 years, literally, have we been able to work together on projects. And we now respect each other. This is what you do. This is what I do. She's like, I don't want to brainstorm. You just do this, and I'll just do this. So we actually work very well together now. We've done lots of work doing retreats for couples. We're doing family things. And she does what she does well, and I do what I do. And we don't have to force each other to be like Kyle. The way you said that was beautiful about you and your wife's relationship. For years, she wanted me to be like her. She wanted me to be empathetic and sensitive the way that she is. And I probably wanted her to be my partner in ideation and the business stuff. And yet we are much better kind of doing what we do best and then bringing the benefits of that together.
I love that. Kyle?
Paul, I want to ask you, I loved how every time you talk about your strengths, I envision this choo-choo train that is Paul Allen, right? Because in each strength is a car, because you literally walked us down a journey of your train track, and you just moved from one car to the next. And I've never heard anyone explain it in sequential order like that. And so how what did that kind of evolution look like to where you really could see it all the way from 1 to 14, where you can kind of pull from those, because for me, and maybe you're really smart and I'm not that smart. So I've just never gone beyond my 5. I just kind of I kind of sit in my comfort zone. So like, what did that look like for you to kind of go, what is my kind of my low teens that maybe I'm missing opportunity in that now you're finding are a great piece to your success?
Yeah, I mean, part of it was when I was coached by great Gallup friends who said, you're not just your top 5. Most of 8 or 10 or 12 that are dominant. So hearing about that, you start to think, okay. And then other people, a lot of people who have all strategic thinking themes, and I was planning to go into academia. My dad was a professor. My mom was a school teacher. I thought I would be a professor. And it kind of is a nice fit. But then when I have competition activator achiever, I'm not content to just read and write, research and teach. I actually have to do stuff and I have to win. I love sports and I grew up watching sports and I loved keeping score. I loved keeping stats. I memorized the stats of all my favorite players and teams. And so for me, I think because I was in my 40s when I took StrengthsFinder, and because I'd already had several children, I've been married for a long time, and then I had started 7 companies, I had a lot of patterns that I could go back to. And so that's where the sequential thing came from, Kyle, is I started thinking about why did I start this company? I didn't know anything about this field. And what was the sequence I went through? And it just seemed to add up that it was my sequence of strengths that really kind of answered the question. Now, I love your choo-choo train thing. I think from now on, I'm going to think train that I think I can. I think your metaphor, I'm going to use that for probably the rest of my life, thinking,
go for it.
Train has a hill to climb, and each car that I've got is going to, each engine that I've got is going to help me get over the top. So Kyle, thanks for that metaphor. It's actually
absolutely. Well, and I think what you said that's brilliant is, and I think your ideation probably allows you. Well, I guess maybe context would be more, but I think most people don't pause long enough to actually look backwards to actually put puzzle pieces together. Like we just get so focused on what's in front of us that we just keep messing up new and over again and go, oh, wait, if I just pause for a second and go, wait, what happened back there? It's amazing how that kind of allows things to unfold. But man, that's awesome.
I want to comment on that, Kyle, because I have a thought. So the book Strengths-Based Marriage talks about mirroring neurons and how when you're with another person, that kind of their talent or their strength may kind of rub off on you or help you. My wife has context in her top 5. My wife has an incredible emotional memory, and she has traditions for our family. We always do these certain things, and it's just an amazing culture. If it were up to me because of strategic and ideation, we would have never done the same thing twice. We would have no culture, and I probably never would look back on the past. But my wife forced me to think back on our marriage, our relationship. I think that helped me to understand the need to look back on my companies and some of the failed relationships that happened in my companies, which were inexplicable to me at the time, but now are very clear that if I had had the lens of strengths, I could have easily adapted and had much greater relationships and greater business outcomes. So I credit my wife for her context and kind of allowing me to be thoughtful about the past.
That's awesome. No, I love that. Very cool.
Mm-hmm. So I tell you, I really want to talk to you, Paul, about I know that you have a vision like I do of 1 billion people being coached and understanding their talents. And you're actually working on a coaching platform. So I want to dig into that and have you share what's going on there for us.
Well, thanks, Rhonda. So obviously, in my 5 years at Gallup, I fell in love with strengths. I fell in love with Don Clifton's whole body of work. I fell in love with the Gallup organization and the thousands of coaches that are out there. I admire them so much. I love so many of my coaching friends. I can't believe what incredible human beings they are and how devoted they are to helping other people find talent. Tom Rath said at the last Clifton Summit that probably the greatest talent of all is spotting talent in someone that they hadn't seen before. The chills to think that all of these coaches with this lens and with this language are going out and spending all of their hours trying to help other people believe in themselves and see their gifts and see their unique beauty. And the world needs a huge dose of this because there's, I just saw an infographic about deaths of despair climbing and skyrocketing in the past 20 years. And that includes suicides. It includes overdoses. When people are just checked out, they just don't have anything to live for. And yet they each have talents, probably undiscovered, probably undeveloped. So I think the coaches of the world with this tool have a chance to really save people one at a time and help them thrive in their life. And that just blesses everybody. So I haven't lost sight of the great need that many coaches have for business help, for sales and marketing help, for technology help. There are so many wonderful coaches, including my wife, who are not going to go out and do internet marketing and selling. And so they need a platform. They need a place to showcase them. They need a place to showcase their uniqueness and what talents and gifts they bring to their coaching engagement that make them unique. And so we're building a platform. I've got good funding, great investor. I can't even believe our lead investor and the other team of investors are so strengths crazed. I won't announce who the investor is yet, but I'll just say that he has brought strengths to many, many, many thousands of people, all of his employees, their spouses, their families, his faith group, his school community. He actually said to me, and I'm not kidding you, he said to me 2 months ago, Paul, I don't know anyone who hasn't taken StrengthsFinder. And I thought to myself, okay, there's a model of leadership. This man is enormously successful and influential. He wants everyone in the world that he's ever met. He has it to Clifton Strengths. And I just thought to myself, how do we spread strengths to the entire world? We find 1,000 leaders like him, or maybe 10,000 leaders like him, who believe in the instrument so much, and they see the positive impact, not only in individual life, but also in teams and in business. There's just positive impacts galore. So we find 10,000 people like him, and all of a sudden the world starts to be flooded with Clifton Strengths and coaching, because it's not enough to just take the assessment. As Jim Clifton always says, the magic is in the feedback. The magic is in the coaching. And all of us that are a part of this strengths movement realize that magical moments that we can help people experience are life-changing moments. Kyle, like what you said.
No kidding.
And what the previous guest said, it changed her life, Rhonda, for you to ask her to think deeply about, what she wants and how can she use her talents to get there. This is just needed everywhere. And I'll just say one more thing about our platform. As I was saying to you before the call, Rhonda, each person in the strengths movement has a different set of talents. Some are great communicators and love to do podcasting. There's just a handful of you that are incredibly talented and devoted to that. There are people that just do keynotes or facilitate workshops. There are people that love one-on-one coaching. There are people that love one-on-one coaching with people that consider themselves broken. Maybe someone with restorative who just delights in taking somebody who's down and out and restoring them to a good. And then there's others who say, I don't want to work with people that have problems. I want to work with really good leaders and make them great. So you've got the maximizing coaches out there. You've got all these different types, and each one needs a platform that allows them to do what they do best and not try to be what they're not try to do the sales and marketing, not try to coach the engagements that really don't work for them. If we don't align the talents and gifts of the coach with the needs of the client, then we don't get a really good outcome. We don't get that magic moment. There's something in the coaching industry, as I've researched it, called a chemistry meeting. So all the Fortune 500 executives who hire an executive coach, they try out the coach through a, quote, chemistry meeting to see if it's the right fit. And so we'd like to see a platform that allows the millions of people that are just beginning their strengths journey and they know they need a little bit of help to meet with the thousands of coaches who might be the perfect partner for them, and kind of do that like chemistry meeting, or at least use online profiles of each person to kind of predict a really good match, make sure it's a good match, and then make sure that that match plays out with the kind of outcomes that the clients are hoping for. So I've got a great team of technologists. We've got some great marketers, some really brilliant marketers that are going to be helping the world know that you not only need to discover your top 5, you need to discover your all 34. You need to have a coach to help you and your team unlock the potential. And as that message spreads, the coaches on the platform will be able to fulfill the needs of all those clients.
I think we got a lot of people out there hearing angels sing, Paul Allen. So can I ask when? Can we get a win on when we're going to be able to start working and testing and so forth with Strengths Inc.? Because I'm like signing up, number 1 right here.
Okay, Rhonda, awesome. So I'm here near Park City, Utah at a beautiful resort called Zermatt Resort. And the folks who own Zermatt Resort are strengths crazed. They want to build the world's top strengths inspiration center and learning center. They are hosting events here. Last year, they hosted 350 corporate events, and they're introducing strengths to more and more of those. So my team came up here for a 3-day retreat. It's a working retreat because we're actually trying to launch our website in the next few days. We're trying to launch the original or initial version of the platform for coaches probably here in the next 2 or 3 weeks, where coaches can begin to sign up and start to tell us and the world about who they are and what they offer. It's probably a couple of months before we have a full-fledged launch, and then we'll start some intensive marketing campaigns to educate the world. I won't tell you all of our strategies, but I have to tell you, it's been 21 years since I started Ancestry.com. The internet marketing world has changed a great deal in those last 21 years. So for the last year, I'm trying to get up to speed on what works now. We have to kind of go through that same process. I have to learn, I have to input, I have to look at all the tangible tools, and then we have to ideate, and then we have to test, and then the analytical, we have to measure what works. And I'll tell you just a sneak peek, video marketing is where everything is at, and storytelling through video. If you think about the YouTube, the consumption of media on YouTube and Facebook video, let alone Netflix binge watching and all that stuff. But the world is watching video.
Yes.
Coaches have stories that need to be told. And they need to be told over and over again to different audiences. If you think about all the different types of clients who have had impact from strengths coaching, do you know I counted up 32 benefits that the Gallup literature indicates that strengths can have a positive impact on. We all know about engagement, but what about quality of life, well-being? Mm-hmm. Dropping out of college. There was a study on Gallup News earlier this month, or last month. Tom Matson was the co-author, and it indicated that freshmen in college who take strengths, 90% of them, and had some coaching, 90% of them re-enrolled. Those who didn't take strengths or have coaching, 80% re-enrolled. So if you're twice as likely to drop out between your freshman and sophomore year if you don't get the strengths experience. Twice.
And coaching.
And coaching. And so that's one of 32 measurable things. Now, what's cool is, think about the leaders of the world, leaders of business, government, education, and faith. Each of them has their own kind of primary goal. What are they trying to do as a leader? You know, I love the diversity and inclusion movement. Oh my gosh, last July, 200 CEOs of major corporations signed on for the CEO Action for Diversity and Inclusion. Silicon Valley's doing reports. All the major companies in Silicon Valley do a report every year on their diversity. And I'm telling you, it's not where it needs to be. There are certain populations very underrepresented in high tech. And that's where a lot of wealth comes from. And so what we do is stop hiring people based on what college you went to or what your work experience is. We need to hire based on talent and potential even more than we do on your resume, which is easy to be misleading anyway. So those core innate values that you have. So strengths actually has a potentially massive impact on diversity and inclusion. Gallup has done studies that show inclusiveness can increase a great deal if people understand each other's strengths. Dr. King's vision of a country where we don't judge people by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. My friend Bill Graham from New York City says he thinks strengths will be the key to helping us judge each other by our character and our content, skin color. So I think there are people out there who are in the diversity inclusion movement who don't even know about Clifton Strengths. They've never heard it. We did a little study about a year ago, and only about 10% of the United States has heard of Clifton Strengths, and about 5% had heard of Strengths Quest. So the total is about 1 in 7 people has heard of this. Still a long ways to go, right? So we need evangelists in every city around the world. We need evangelists in every state in the United States. We need evangelists in every country. And one of the things our platform is going to do is put a call out there for those of you who are in the Strengths movement who want to sign up and become the evangelist for Strengths in your area. Now, that might require some strategic thinking and some influencing things. And then it will require relationship building with all the other coaches in your area, because no one person can run the whole Strengths movement in any city, school, or workplace. We all need each other, but the evangelist can be the spark, just like Mike Ritz and Kevin Cooper in Rhode Island. Holy cow, look what Rhode Island has done with leadership.
I know.
Leading the way to become the first strengths-based state, re-energizing the state, giving the state reasons to believe in itself again. And just imagine if their leadership can be replicated in cities and states all around the world. We can have the type of world that Don envisioned, a world built on the strengths of every person.
Wow. I'll take Dallas.
I hear angels.
Dallas. Kyle's got Dallas. Okay, let's talk.
You know, I'll never forget. It was a theme Thursday. It was the very first theme Thursday. So this is like 5 or 6 years ago or however many, when Kurt Liesfeld said he was talking about the Woo talent theme, my number 2, #Woo if you're with me. And he said the Strengths movement needs evangelists. And I remember exactly where I was and feeling, I call them Holy Ghost bumps racing all over me, because truly, I tell you, I am a strengths evangelist. And on the spiritual gifts inventory, evangelism is my first talent.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love that, Rhonda.
So it was like, I cannot not talk about Strengths Finder, Clifton Strengths, and what it has done, for me and my family. It's a language. We are truly strengths nerds around here.
Well, I'm with you, Rhonda. I love it. It's such a blessing to everybody that is truly introduced to it and immersed in it. I kind of feel a burden, because as our lead investor says, he doesn't know anybody who hasn't taken Strengths. Now my strategic is kicking in. I'm like, okay, how am I literally going to get everybody I have ever known to take the assessment and to get coaching? It's everyone I went to elementary school and high school with, everyone I'm friends with on Facebook or LinkedIn. I'm actually, like, my mind is constantly thinking about, how do I introduce them? Do I have to gift it to 10% of them or 50% of them? How will I do that? How will I be able to finance that? So, but it's a burden, but it's an incredible blessing. Those goosebump moments, you know what? I've been having those almost every day for the past several months as our team hires new people who are also feeling like led to this. There's a lot of people who feel a calling. We really want every human being to understand how truly unique and created they are to do what only they can do. And it's a disservice to the world if we try to standardize everybody. If the school system, standardized testing, standardized curriculum, we just march through a factory model, we ignore the talents that they bring in the door on day one. And think of the cost to each of us and to the world if we don't understand and individualize their journey in life around their God-given talents.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you bring up a good point. You said it's like school is a factory. Well, hello. If you know anything about the school, the public education system, you know that it was created to develop people so they could be good factory workers. And exactly. A few of them at the 8th grade would be bumped up to management. And so I think the people who are working in the schools and who are spreading the good news about, strengths-based parenting and getting strengths into the younger, the better. I was 48 years old when I found out.
Yeah.
That should never happen in our day and age where someone, is older when they learn what their talents are,
Right.
because I've lived my whole life. But, I tell the story often about 7 years old, finding my report card and having the teacher getting unsatisfactory, having the teacher say, Rhonda will not sit still and she won't stop talking. And then at the bottom saying, Rhonda is not living up to her full potential. Well, no, I wasn't, because you couldn't see my potential. You didn't know what my potential was, nor could you have encouraged me to develop it because you didn't know how. So I am, oh my gosh, if we could get Clifton Strengths into the early education system training in the colleges where the teachers were trained to spot talent in a 4-year-old,
right.
What could we do then?
Exactly. I came up with a 6 clue to talent. Don Clifton has his 5 clues to talent, but after listening to lots of stories like yours and Mike Daphne telling me he got in trouble for talking all the time, he was always told to shut up, and now he gets paid to be a coach and a consultant.
Right.
Yet in school, we don't kind of enable that. Well, my 6th clue to talent is, what did you get in trouble for?
Mm-hmm.
We're misinterpreting what you really had to offer, and they were trying to shut it down, and you got in trouble.
So good.
Yeah.
I just love it.
I know we're almost out of time, Ron, but I just want to say one or two more things.
Yes, we're good.
Because I've been wanting to share this on a blog or an article or write an article for The Atlantic or something. Because the college admittance system in the United States, in the 1930s, Harvard started using the SAT as a filter to keep certain students out because they wanted those with high scholastic aptitude, high IQ, which is kind of where the SAT test came from. The inventor of the SAT test never intended it to be used as an admission for college. He wanted it to be used as a tool for the student and the teacher to find out what the student knew already and what else they needed to learn. But instead, it became widely adopted in the United States as a college admittance exam. Now, there's a book written in 1959 in the UK called The Rise of Meritocracy. In the United States, if you ask people, hey, do you believe we should be a meritocracy? Guess what everybody will say? Yeah, we are a meritocracy. It's good to deserve what you get. And guess what? If the books, the Rise of the Meritocracy was written by the man who invented the word meritocracy, and he was trying to warn the world that if our view of a meritocracy is high IQ or scholastic aptitude, and if you take that to an extreme where you find all the most bright people in every part of the world and make them the ruling class, that what we end up with, if you read his book, is a very violent ending. You can't just take the IQ talent from around the world and make them the leaders in Washington and Wall Street. What you have to do is what the inventor of the SAT test wanted to do, which was create a census of all abilities. I think the inventor of the SAT test and Don Clifton both realized that there is an enormous amount of talent and ability in every human being. And if we could identify that through assessments, that we could then value each person's talents, reward it, recognize it, celebrate it, and the world would be a better place. We can't just reward a very narrow set of people who might be League bound. We have to actually say, in 9th grade, who has a great relationship strength to be a phenomenal nurse or a phenomenal teacher? We got to find what each person is gifted towards and then encourage them towards that and reward them and recognize them for it too. I think there's too much money at the top, and this oligarchic world that we're starting to see develop is a little bit scary. And I think the antidote to that, to inequality in the future, is to give all of us an incredible lens of the talent and strengths of everybody around us. And people that we didn't value before, we start to say, oh my gosh, you have this? That is a great gift. I appreciate that. And everything benefits when we all recognize and need each other for what we bring.
It is so true. And the assessment really, quite frankly, for some talents that we don't have, the only way we're going to be able to recognize that as a gift and a strength is with the assessment.
Right.
Because it allows us to see what that talent is supposed to look like in its best as its best. And if it's not there, help that person meet their needs so we can get it there, because they have so much value and we need what they have in our world today.
We do. We do need everybody. We need everybody's God-given talents. In order to solve the problems of the world, all it's going to take is unlocking the talent potential in more people.
And then developing it for sure.
Yep.
Yes, I love it. Paul, I'm so glad that you came to visit with us. And I hate that we are out of time because we could be here forever. And so I would love to elicit a promise out of you to come back.
I will come back, Rhonda, for sure. And
especially in a couple months. Say again.
Yeah, and I can't wait to show you our platform and make a space for evangelists. Dallas, Kyle, was my first trip as a Gallup employee was to Fort Worth, Tarrant County, where I got to meet with Debbie Crackey, Jan Miles, and others who were coaching hundreds of ex-offenders. And it was a remarkable experience.
Wow.
And use this assessment and coaching to help people with no hope to gain hope and self-confidence, and to be able to get a livelihood again, and to re-enter into society, and to be productive and fulfilled. It was incredible to see how they were using it. I can't wait to come back to Dallas, Fort Worth, and just kind of be a part of the strengths movement as it grows everywhere.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Roger Cute says, coaches have stories that need to be told. Amen. And Jeff Flowers says, sign me up. So I really think that, we may need to talk commission or something here in a minute. I'm just kidding. Maybe
No.
not.
No. That's part of our mission statement. We're a mission-driven company with an abundance mindset. And the abundance means everybody gets a portion of what they are able to create for the whole. And so there will be an affiliate program, Rhonda. You'll be a powerful affiliate as we start to grow our platform.
Daniel Ferguson, he is confirming my evangelism. He says the first thing I talked to him about was StrengthsFinder. I cannot not. That's where you know you're an evangelist, when you cannot not say something. And that's certainly where I am. And look, Melanie Schneider says she wants to coach veterans.
Nice. Awesome.
Melanie, you are so needed in that veteran community. We know what tragedy that they sometimes end up in, coming back after being deployed or whatever. So anyway, such hope that we have, knowing that you are out there leading the mission for 1 billion, and then we get to learn what our part is in that, Paul, and collaborate with you and come on board. So I'm just so excited to be sharing you and sharing the information about the upcoming platform. So tell everybody where we can reach you.
So a great way to reach me is LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. Our website is going to launch in a few days, and my new email address will be ready in a few days. But in the meantime, if you want to reach out, my email address is paulballen@gmail.com. And if you actually want to text message me, I'll give you my cell phone number, because anyone that's interested in strengths, I'm going to spend time answering questions or providing whatever help and direction I can. So it's 801-404-8235.
Perfect. I'll put that up there, and you're probably going to be inundated by the afternoon. And so anyway, I am so grateful again that you came by. So we're going to pop you back into the green room and see you hopefully in a minute. We'll be off in a minute.
Thank you, Rhonda. Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Paul.
Woo! Wow. I am so hopeful. Are you hopeful?
Gosh, amazing. Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
So cool.
And, coaching has finally come into that place where people are starting to recognize how valuable coaching is, and that it's not just sitting at a coffee shop, that we actually get good things done. So anyway, listen, Kyle, tell us, I want everybody to know how they can reach you. Tell everybody.
Yeah. You can go to my website's kyledraper.com. You can find me on Facebook at Coach Kyle Draper, and I guess I'll give people my cell phone number too, since Paul did it. I guess I'll do it. Right. So if you want to reach me directly, you can text me, call me 405-888-9119.
All right, there you go. Kyle Draper with Coach Kyle with
Yes.
KyleDraper.com. He is a social media king. And so I am so grateful that you had time today to come and hang out with me.
Me too. Thank you for inviting me
Always
back.
fun to have you. Always fun.
Yes, ma'am.
So with that, I will tell everybody, if you'd like to reach me, you can find me at Rhonda at RhondaBoyle.com. You can also find me in the group The Very Best You, if you're interested in growing your amazing talents and strengths. Wynn Jacobson is in that room as a moderator, so come on over and join us. And I have a free tip sheet for you. You can go to tips.rhondaboyle.com, and I will gladly give that to you, some ideas on growing and developing your amazing talents. And with that, we will see you next week, Wednesdays, every week at 11 Central Standard Time. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us and participating. We will see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.